Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. We're beginning our descent now.
I'm going to do a review on this aircraft for FSX that I bought from Just Flight. Now, when I bought this airplane, it showed it as being compatible with FSX, FSX Steam, and Prepared 3D. Now, and I've had it maybe a month, but now when I go back to the website, it shows it specifically designed for Prepared 3D and compatible with FSX and FSX Steam. I only paid $30 for it, but it has quite a few glitches for $30. I mean, for the whole FSX flight sim, I only paid like $50. But anyway, it looks kind of digitized right now because I have the settings turned down on the flight simulator, because this thing is just a memory hog. It sucks up memory like you wouldn't believe. So I had to turn everything down. And this was a package for $30. It came with the Piper Turbo Aero 3 and the Piper Turbo Aero 4. This is the 4. So the reason I'm doing this is you might be deciding to buy this. And I want you to know, what you're getting into before you buy it. There are things I like about it and things I don't. Some of the things I like about it is photorealistic, which I think is part of the reason that it sucks up so much available memory. If you can see, there's paint scratched off the radios. Stuff looks a little worn out. There's dirt in the floor, fingerprints on the upholstery, but it looks fairly convincing for a flight simulator. You can see the control surfaces do work. Some more things I like about it is you can click right here and the yokes, will disappear. And that's good if you're using a yoke. So I've already got one. I don't need two more. And about this aircraft, by the way, it has a latch right here on the mixture. What that does is it keeps you from turning the mixture to idle cutoff while you're mid-flight. So if you want to be able to use the mixture, you have to flip that latch up. Some more things I do like about it is you can toggle the auto fuel selector. Now that just turned it on, and the reason I do it is in this type of plane it doesn't have a left right in both fuel selector. It has left, right, and off. So every 15 minutes you have to switch from left to right or right to left, because if you drain too much fuel out of one wing, the plane will start to list, and you're constantly having to trim it out with rudder to allow for that. So rather than going down there with a mouse every 15 minutes and flipping it, I put the auto on, because sometimes when I try it, I actually end up turning the fuel off, and then the engine dies and I have to try to restart it. Another thing I like about it is it has a refill menu. You can see the door come up. You can check the oil quantity. Right now it's showing 7 quarts. It needs 8. I'm going to refill it to 8. There's 8. The fuel, since I'm the only one flying today, it's not a really hot day, I'm going to go ahead and put 100% of the fuel in it. On the kind of a glitch they have is you can select your panel state, cold and dark or ready for takeoff. If I put it on cold and dark and then try to use my start or my master switch, nothing works. It won't start. It won't do nothing. So, but if I put it on ready for takeoff, as soon as I click on ready for takeoff, it starts the motor. So then I have to cut the motor off and start from square one, as if it were cold and dark. Just another glitch. One of the things that I do like about it too is it has a shake as soon as you start it up, and that's a little touch of realism that FSX planes don't have. Now, when I do these reviews, I've made the regular FSX airplanes, I've given them an 8 across the board, and that's because there is room for improvement. I'll give you one example. If you have flown the Mall M7, when you look out the right side, when the aileron should be up on a right turn, the aileron is actually down. So they do have their glitches too, and I'm sure there are better airplanes than this out there. If not, better will come along. So 8 it is for the FSX airplanes. I'm going to do a short flight. It's 55 miles VFR from my home airport, 3 Alpha 2, which is New Tazewell, Tennessee, and I'm going to fly east to KTRI, which is Tri-Cities Regional Airport. It's a Class D. They have a tower, shuts down at 5 o'clock, and that airport serves the Tri-Cities area: Bristol, Johnson City, Kingsport, Tennessee. It's not hard to find. I'm going to be flying at about 120 knots thereabouts, and it's 92 degrees. So if I fly due east, hold a reasonable heading, and fly for about a half hour, I'm going to pop out on top of the airport. But instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some kind of old-fashioned navigation. Everybody uses GPS these days, and I'm going to use VOR ILS, VOR, and over here I'm going to use the AD. So what I want to do is my checkpoints are kind of lined up in a line. I'm starting at this button where the airport where I'm at. I'm going to fly over top of Rogersville Airport, KRVN, and they have a terminal NDB, which means their ADF is right on the field. So, and that is 329. I'm going to fly to it, and I'm going to head out on Knoxville approach. Knoxville is that way, and I'm flying that way. So I'm going to use Knoxville approach until reception starts to fade out, or until I get thereabouts at Rogersville, and then I'm going to switch over to Tri-City approach, and then eventually Tri-City Tower, ATIS, and all that. But when I pass the KRVN NDB, then I'm going to switch over to the buoy LOM, which is a locator outer marker at the end of runway 5. Now I'm expecting runway 23 at Tri-Cities because of the wind direction. I think I checked it at 300 degrees 10 knots, so you know it's a no-brainer there. And then when I start downwind, I'm going to go ahead and tune the ADF to the Mocha NDB, which is at the approach end of runway 23. Now, do I need all those? No. Like I said, you can hold a reasonable heading and time it and dead reckon it, and you'll be there. But you could encounter weather along the way, and it just helps, solidify where you are, that you know where you are. So let me start my flight to Kingsport so you can get an idea what this thing flies like. They got the sound, I think, perfect on this thing. I'll turn it up a little so you can see or hear what it sounds like. Sounds more like a real airplane. You can see the shaking in the dashboard. Tazewell traffic, November 3023 Kilo, back taxi runway 25. So I've got a quarter in tailwind here. So I'm going to turn the yoke to the left and push the yoke in. As far as taxiing, it is a little bit better than the FSX airplanes. It doesn't wander all over the runway as bad. It does some. It does, like any FSX airplane, have a tendency to taxi way too fast. And you taxi at a trot, not a gallop, about 8 to 10 miles per hour. I've said before that they don't give you, on this apron, on a lot of these FSX airports, they don't give you enough of an apron to do your run-up, or to even make a turn for that matter. So, if you want to stay out of the grass, you end up doing your run-up on the runway. Yep, see there? So if I want to turn this into the wind to do my run-up, I've got to come out here on the runway. Which at an airport like this in real life is okay anyway. There's hardly any traffic over here. So I'll do this real quick. Up 2,000 RPMs on this one. 175 to the left, no more than 175 to the right. I check my mixture. A lot of people don't, but I do want to make sure that sucker's working. It is. I'm going to exercise the prop 3 times. First time checking for dropping manifold pressure. Second time looking for dropping oil pressure. Third time looking for oil spatter on the windscreen, because that prop is hydraulic. Thumbs up, aileron up. Thumbs down, aileron down. Thumbs up, thumbs down, and I like to check my flaps. There's 3 notches on this airplane. My fuel caps are in the slipstream, so they're not going to come unscrewed as I fly through the air. And I have my trim set on takeoff. Now, one of the glitches in this airplane is it has a overboost light that'll come on when you open the throttle all the way. I hear they've got a patch that they're working on for this. What happens is, there's nothing wrong with overboost. It just means you're boosting the engine, but it's going a little bit over, about 6 or 7% over the boost. It gives you a little bit extra oomph. So you'll see that light come on, but the problem is, when you shove this thing to the firewall and get to about 2,000, 2,500 feet thereabouts, you start to lose power. And there's no saving it. It's going to lose all the power until you have to land on a field or something. So there's, until they get the patch available, you can either not floor it, on takeoff, or you can do what the pilot's operating handbook says anyway, and that is to take off with full power. By the way, it's low on the fuel pump. Full power, when you get 500 AGL, which will be about 1,700 feet for me, throttle back to about 85%, which will be top of the white arc right here, and 24. And then you continue the climb until you get to cruise speed, and then you can throttle back to about 75%, which is right here. Now, it's hard to see those numbers, on a screen this big, so what I have to do a lot of times is I go right here, and then I can see there's my 75%, and that's about 85%. Here's 100 right here, and then you're in overboost up here. All right, Unicom here is 1229. As soon as I get to, oh, here's another glitch. These are not working as a flip-flop should. you should be able to dial in your frequency here and then flip-flop over. It's not doing that. You have to dial your frequency over here. And I don't know how to fix that. Maybe I can get them to show me how to fix that, or tell me how to fix it. And maximal approach is 1328. Okay, ready to go. Tazewell traffic, November 3023 kilo, ready for immediate departure, runway 25. And there's my overboost light. You see, come on, this thing's trying to weather vane into the wind. I'm going to climb out about 90, lift off about 80. Whoop. No more usable runway. Tap the brakes and gear up. I have the weather program for cold fronts, so I really don't know what I'm going to run into on the way. Usually some weather will develop. I'm at my 500 AGL, so I'm going to lower the nose and go ahead and throttle back to about 85%. And there it is at the top of the white arc, about 85%. Try to maintain a 90 knot climb. So my first checkpoint I'm coming to is Rogersville, NDB. By the way, this is a constant throttling back. Rogersville, NDB, which I have tuned in here. And I'm going to point at 92 degrees, and it should bring me right out over the airport. And you can see the NDB right here. It has picked up the signal right here. One of the things they left off of this aircraft when they made it is there's no nav GPS to slave your autopilot to. So right now I've got a flag saying there's no information, but I did program a switch in, and it doesn't tell me anywhere that I'm on nav. I'm just hoping I am, hoping I'm not on GPS. I still don't have a 2 indicator, but because I'm where I'm at in relation to the runway and the heading, and I think that I have it on the correct setting there. So now that I'm out of pattern, I'll go ahead and switch to Knoxville approach and fly that as long as I can. Probably time for a little bit of mixture. A lot of times I will, when I start to get close to my altitude that I'm going to level off at, I'll go ahead and turn the autopilot on and let the autopilot stabilize me, only because anything you do in Flight Simulator is over-exaggerated. So you can sit here and up and down, and trim until you finally get it stabilized. So this is easier. Another problem I found is the GPS. Now sometimes it'll work, sometimes it won't. I'm talking about the information in the screen, like is in the DME. I don't know how to turn it on. I've flipped every button imaginable. So what you have to do is tap the screen and you get this humongous GPS. Now I can shrink it down, but then you can't read the numbers. So that's killing me there. I've got to find out how to go about fixing that. It's okay now to go ahead and turn off my fuel pump. And I'm coming up on 5,500. And I take off my autopilot and hand fly it. And I'm going to pull it back to 75% power. So I'll end up doing about 120 knots, which is about 130 miles an hour. So I am a pilot, and lately the only piloting I've been doing is in my flight simulator, but this handles like an airplane. This Piper Aero 4. Now it does have a T-tail, and as a rule that makes any airplane a little bit funky on landing because it's not in the slipstream of the propeller. So I don't know how realistic that is because I've never actually flown this airplane. I have read a lot of the comments on the forums, and most of the people that have it and that have flown this particular kind of airplane, they say it's very realistic. And once you sit here in this seat and do this for a few minutes, it's convincing. It looks realistic. So a friend of mine, Mitch, started to buy one of these airplanes. I don't know if you ever did exactly like this, the Piper Turbo Aero 4. He already had 3 airplanes, and I knew he possibly could buy that one. So he was waiting for the owner of the plane to fly it in to Tazewell, Tennessee, so he could, check it out. Mitch was a A&P mechanic anyway. So I'm in a 172, and I'm doing takeoffs and landings, and I take off, and I do my crosswind for runway 25, and I call it in, 95 Juliet, turn to the left crosswind, runway 25. Maybe 5 seconds later, I hear 421, turn to the left crosswind, runway 25. And I'm thinking, oh, okay, Mitch is in the air now, but it sounds like he's a little bit close. So then I turn my downwind, 95 Juliet, turn to the left downwind, runway 25. There is the Rogersville Airport. I'm going to go ahead now and switch over to Tri-City Approach 11925. Okay, 11925. Okay, there's Tri-Cities Approach. So anyway, I turn my left downwind, 95 Juliet, turn to the left downwind, runway 25, and a few seconds later I hear Mitch, left downwind, runway 25. So now I'm looking everywhere. I'm starting to get concerned. He's really close, and I'm looking out the windows trying to find him. So I abandoned my cruise. Now what I should have done was just departed the pattern, but I really wasn't sure where he was. So I try to outrun him, and I figure he's going to go back to cruise settings, and which will be slightly faster than a 172 in the pattern. So I open the throttle all the way, and now I'm doing about 115, 120 knots in the pattern. And I turn my left base, and 95 Juliet, turn left base for runway 25. 421, turning into left base, runway 25. So now I'm really freaking out because I know his propeller's going to chew the tail right off my plane. We're both going to go down. I'm going to die. I'm not that old. And so I'm looking everywhere for him, you know, and I can't find him. And so I'm barreling down base and ripping through final, you know, and now I'm going about 125 knots because I'm going down and I've got the throttle buried. 95 Juliet, turning left final, runway 25, 421, turning left final, runway 25. And he talks at roughly the same time as me, so I know he's got to be right there somewhere. I'm afraid to peel off to the left because if he's over me, I'm afraid this wing is going to hit him. And because it was a high wing airplane. And if I turn the other way, I'm afraid that wing will hit him. So, you know, I'm on the radio now. I'm starting to, you know, scream at him, Mitch, can't you see me? I'm on final, runway 25. And he says nothing. So I say, he can't hear me, he can't see me. Well, I know going that fast was, it's hard to get the plane down. It doesn't want to go down, it wants to go up. So I know as soon as my wheels hit the runway, I'm going to start porpoising. And as soon as I hit the runway, I yank the throttle back and it starts into the porpoise, not too high, but kind of a shallow porpoise. And I stand on the brakes and I come to a screeching halt at the end of the runway. And when I turn around, he's not there. So I look up and I think he must have, you know, went around, you know, finally seen me. So when I taxi back to the tarmac, there's his airplane. And he's sitting there with the door open and it's tied down, you know. Him and that fella never did take off. The whole time he was sitting on the ground just to aggravate me. Got some upwind right there, up there, 6,000. So the whole time he's just messing with me. He's on the radio. Every time I'd say left turn, he'd say left turn. And anyway, that's my only experience with a Piper Turbo Aero. All right, I'm passing my Rogersville NDB. So I'm going to tune up to the buoy NDB, and I'm going to change my heading to about 110 degrees. And this buoy NDB is at the end of runway 5. Like I said, I'm going to be expecting runway 23 because of the wind. Alright, time to listen to ATIS on 1825. Wind 308 at 10. Information Romeo. ILS runway 23 in use. Alright. Not what I expected. So I'm done with my VOR. I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the ILS. Go ahead and start my descent also. And Tri-City Tower 1195. Call them and tell them I've got information. Romeo. Right downwind, runway 23. Altimeter 2995. So I'm going to adjust my altimeter, and I'm actually at 4,000 feet. So, looks like I have the field in sight right there. I'm not sure, but it looks like it. My field elevation here is 1519, so I'm going to keep easing down until I get to 2519 and just hold it there. So since I have the buoy NDB LOM inside, this being the airport, NDB is going to be right here. It says I'm flying right to it. I can go ahead and change over now to Mocha NDB. It's $2.99. Just in case I need that. Alright, tower told me to fly right downwind for runway 23. I'm not actually going to fly out to the Mocha NDB because if I did, I would probably need to tell them, that I'm going that far out on final. And that's not what they're expecting. What they're expecting me to do is fly a normal traffic pattern, downwind, base, and final, unless there's some traffic that's going to be ahead of me, because a lot of times they might have to sequence you in, like you're number 2 or you're number 3 behind such and such aircraft. So I'm just going to fly a normal, or plan on flying a normal pattern. Once I get about midfield, they'll tell me that I'm clear to land. I'm going to start to slow down, get the gear down. And do my gumps check. Gas, fuel pump on, undercarriage, mixture and props. And of course I'm not going to touch the flaps till I'm even with the end of the runway. I've been playing around here and lost, 100 feet of altitude, which is not the end of the world, but waiting on my clearance to land. Alright, there's all the aircraft on final are cleared to land. And now I'm even. I don't know if you can see the moving map or not, but I'm even with it, so I can go ahead and make my turn. I'm way high, so go ahead and dump all them flaps in there. Got a bunch of trim. But without a side view, it's hard to tell. Now they're telling me to go around. Well, I'm not going to go around. Just going to kind of ignore him. Alright, how am I going to rate this? Overall realism, I have to give it about a 9. Detail, I got to give it a 10. Install difficulty, how difficult was it to install? A 10. I mean, it was good. I'm saying 1 is, the least and 10 is the best. glitches, I have to give it a 3 because this thing is fraught with problems. And the value for the money at this point, until I get the problems fixed, I'm going to say about a 5. Updates that are available, I don't know. I haven't found any yet. Compatibility, I have to give it a 7 because it said this thing on their website was for FSX or FSX Steam or prepared 3D. When I went back to the site trying to find some patches, then they had changed that to compatible with FSX, compatible with FSX Steam, but specifically designed for prepared 3D. So, I have to give about a 7 there. Versatility, there are quite a few liveries available with this. You can change to different airplanes, different paint schemes and tail numbers. So I have to give them a 10 on that. And the instrumentation, this has a 3D instrument panel, and that's it. Now if there's a 2D, I don't know where it's at, or I don't know how to get to it. And I wish there was, but this is what there is. And sound, I have to give them a 10. So overall, when I average this stuff together and look at the different things, I'm going to give it a 7.5, which is not bad considering that FSX is 8. Thanks for watching.